and Dad were always into drugs. When we were younger, me and my brother were put into care for a bit, but at the time I was too young to understand why. I just thought they didn't love us. It was tough at school. The other mums and dads kept their kids away from us. The kids would skit us because our clothes were scruffy and I'd get angry and lash out. That got me into trouble with the teachers. As I got older, I knew something wasn't right, that my mum and dad weren't like other kids' mums and dads. Dad left us when we were in juniors and we moved to another town. We had to start school all over again. It was the same thing, getting bullied, getting called smackheads. The teachers would ask me if everything was okay at home, and I'd lie, because I didn't want me and my brother going back into care again. Mum started going out to the pub all the time, leaving us on our own. I had to look after my brother and make sure he ate and wasn't getting into trouble. Sometimes I looked after my mum too. When she came home after Ed, I put her into bed and check on her during the night to make sure she was okay. The older I got, the angrier I would get, and I'd take it out on myself, on my arms. I would constantly ring my mum when I was at school, and if she didn't answer, I'd kick off and refuse to do my work. I used to think it should be the other way around, her worrying about me. I didn't have any real friends, just sit in my bedroom with my headphones on, tried to block it all out. I always wanted to be a singer. I really liked Joni Mitchell. My dad used to play me Big Yellow Taxi all the time when I was little. I always sing it makes me happy. I was 16 when Mum died. She'd been missing for 3 days and they found her in an empty flat. It hit me hard because now I had no one. My brother was placed with foster parents and I was put in a hostel. I hated it. I've got my own daughter now, Lola. I'll make sure she knows she's loved and that I'm always here for her, always.
I've been brought up on weed. My dad smokes it, my mum smokes it, even my granddad smoked it when he was alive. My dad started smoking when he was 15, so I beat him by 2 years. All the kids around here, they're all on it. My dad reckons green isn't really weed, that they spray with smack and all stuff to get you hooked. He only smokes Rocky. He tried some of my skunk and he was off his head, puking up for a day. He started worrying about me then, told me to be careful. He even took it off me and flushed the 30 back down the bag. I just carried on though, thought I was the main man, selling her at school, inviting all my mates around for a smoke every night. Most of them at uni now, and I'm still at home. I was good at school, got top grades till year 10. Then I just never bothered, couldn't wait to leave. I thought it was boss at first, sat in my room listening to Biggie, but it just gets boring after a bit. 3 years later, I'm still exactly where I was when I was 16. Look at me dad, he's almost 50 now. What's he achieved? He works 12-hour shifts, can't even afford a decent car. He's always got a pile of crap from the auction that breaks down on the way home. He's always got a wrench in his greasy hand under the bonnet trying to fix it. Sometimes I want him to say to me, "What are you doing, son, wasting your life smoking and that stuff?" But he never does. How can he when the first thing he does from work is spark one up? I brought a girl round last year and I was embarrassed if I'm honest. The house stinks of weed all the time. My mum and dad, they're nice people, but I don't want my kids to be brought up like I did.
Mum says she's very busy at work and she needs a glass of wine or two to help her relax. Me and my sister, we do help around, help do housework. We've got a rota because, well, Mum doesn't get home till 7 o'clock and Dad works away for an oil company. We've got a big house. Mum says we all need to pull our weight, keep it clean and tidy. I make us tea every single night. Usually it's only putting a ready meal in the oven and Mum warms her up when she gets in from work. Then she usually goes on her laptop with a glass of wine. We just go upstairs, watch TV, or I go on Facebook. I've got over 200 friends on Facebook, but I don't see many of them outside of school. I think Mum gets lonely, and she's usually asleep before we go to bed. Sometimes we have to wake her up, and there's 1 or 2 empty bottles of wine on the table. Freddy's the worst. She goes out with her friends, comes home drunk, but carries on drinking whatever we've got in, wine, vodka. She plays music really loud too, which keeps us up. And then she's ill all weekend. So we miss doing all the things that we used to do when Dad was here. It's not the same. I spoke to Dad about it on Skype, and he just said it's nothing to worry about. Just make sure that we help out, you know, it's difficult for her being on her own. I think it's difficult for me too. I get lonely as well. I wanted to sleep over for my 13th birthday, but Mum wouldn't let me. She said it would make too much noise and she had to be up early for work the next day. Mum likes the house to be clean. She gets angry if things are out of place. Once I smashed a vase, she grounded me for a whole week. I missed my friend Jessica's party, and I was the one left out again. My grandma comes round every Sunday, and Mum hides empty bottles in the garage. I think I should say something to Grandma. I'm scared in case it gets me into trouble. I wish Dad would come home more often, because Mum's happy then. He says if he didn't work away, he wouldn't afford to go to Florida every year. But I'd rather him live with us again. Things were better then. Mum was better then.
My dad always seemed so happy. He did to me anyway. He was dead popular, my dad. He used to do the karaoke at the club. I remember coming home from college. It was really sunny. One of these days when you notice how many planes are in the sky, see the sun glittering off their wings, I decided to get my bike out and go for the ride. I opened the garage door and he was hanging from the roof. I stood there for ages, looking at his face. I thought he was messing about at first, trying to scare me and that. Then I realised that he was. I never knew he suffered from depression. He must have had it hid because all I remember is seeing him singing and joking. How can someone like that be depressed? How could he do that to us? To me? There must be something they're not telling us, or telling me. You don't just wake up one morning and decide to kill yourself. Me and my dad were both members of the cycling club. He said we'd go to watch the Tour de France this year, go to Paris to see the final stage and make a weekend of it. It was only a few months off. We'd got a map of Paris and circled a few hotels we wanted to look at. It's coming up to a year now, and I still can't believe he's gone. That we'll never go for the ride together again. I sold his bikes after the funeral, sold all his gears too. What good is it now?
Since I was 6, my mum has been in and out of hospital all the time. My nan used to tell me she was gone in for a rest, but I'm not a kid anymore. I know she's in a nut house. There are 3 of us, me and my 2 younger brothers. I'm the oldest, so I'm the one who has to take charge when my mum has to go for her treatment. I know when it's coming. She starts rushing around the house all the time. Can't keep still for 1 minute. Then she stays in bed all day. I can't get her up and she just spends all day crying. I have to get my brothers ready for school, do their pack lunch and walk them to junior school, and then walk to mine a mile away. I'm always late. My attendance record is one of the worst in my year. They keep sending letters to my mum, but I rip them up. She wouldn't be bothered anyway. Dad's with his new girlfriend now, so we hardly ever see him. When my mum goes to hospital, we used to stay with him sometimes, but we can't anymore.
He lives in a small flat, so he says we can't all fit in. Now he's got a new baby. My nan comes and stays at ours when she's well enough, which is good because she helps me with my brothers. I feel tight though because she had cancer and isn't well enough to look after us really. Mum's supposed to take her tablets, but I know she doesn't always take them. She usually comes out all calm and makes a big fuss of us, but then a few weeks later I can tell she's stopped taking her medicine. She starts shouting at us all the time, then she goes to bed and won't answer the door to anyone. Mum sometimes helps in a few days, but she was in all over the summer holidays last year. I was glad in a way because it was a break for me, not having to take my brothers to school. We even went to Chester Zoo with my dad for a day. He bought me a toy giraffe. I'm too old for cuddly toys, but I kept it anyway. I know my mum needs help, but so do I. I was going to tell my teachers what's happening, why I'm always late, but maybe Mum will get better this time.
I was living in a hostel when I found I was pregnant. When I went to see the midwife, she asked me where I was living. I told her I didn't want to bring up my baby in there. And she put me in touch with an organisation who helped me to get my own flat. They also put me in touch with a counsellor who was really helpful and taught me anger management strategies. I stopped self-harming as soon as Lola was born. At least I've got someone now who I can contact if I'm struggling. I've decided to do singing full time and rehearse with a band twice a week. I really think I've turned my life around now. I'm positive about the future.